Pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
This is a regular meeting of the Hendry County Board of County Commissioners being held on Tuesday, October 12th, 2021 at 5 p.m. in the City Commission Chambers in Clewiston, Florida. In attendance are Chairman Mitchell Wills, Vice Chair Emma Bird, Commissioner Darrell Harris, Commissioner Raymond Iglesias, Commissioner Carson Turner, County Administrator Jennifer Davis, County Attorney Mark Black, Deputy Clerk Anita Fischel.
Thank you, ma'am. As we get started, if anyone would like to speak tonight, if you would, please fill out a speaker's card, and if you will get passed up this way, we get to that portion of the meeting, we will call you up. First thing on the agenda tonight is under bids number 2021-27. It's the State Road 29 Helms Road intersection.
Move to accept auction one.
Second.
Auction one.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Byrd. Any discussion on the board? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to pull item B4. I meant to, the county administrator asked me about it, and I meant to get a little bit more clarification. B4, other than that, I make a motion to approve the balance.
I second it.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. P4, yes, sir.
What is the professional, so I don't see clarification in that. It says, it's just professional service that'll be rendered. What's happening? Who's MJRDB? Give me a little bit more background, please.
Okay, Shane, you want to speak to it?
For the record, Shane Harper, County Engineer. MJRDB's architect. There's two things they're doing. One is to bring the plans in the current building code because they're outdated. And two is to add the entire roof repair to the Dallas Townsend to the project. That was not an original scope.
How are you going, so you haven't been able to meet the scope of the project with the dollar threshold that you had. Now you're going to bring the entire roof into that.
That's correct.
What are we going to do?
What do you mean, from a fiscal perspective?
Yes, ma'am.
So we were looking to save money by having one project rather than two, because the whole roof needs to be redone.
Okay.
And use some other funding sources to maybe finish the roof and the project.
Okay.
But we reduced the scope quite a bit from the original grant request because what did we do, 2 or 3 times?
Yes.
And it was,
I think it's been,
exceeded.
I think we've let it to be quoted 3 times.
I think it was 3 times.
Yes.
Project manager, 2 bids, and it's come high every time. So now with the economy of scales on the roof, because the roof repair was small in one area for a roof addition for the building, now it's gonna be the whole roof, and we have to do the roof.
We have to
repair.
do, we already had money set aside to do the roof anyway.
The county had money internally set aside to redo the roof.
Just the roof without anything to do with the grant
Okay.
anyway. So
All
we're
right.
just we're trying to save from an economy of scale
Okay.
perspective
All right.
to put it
So now
together.
you're gonna have one architect that's gonna recite all of that from a specification standpoint, make sure it's up to code, and then integrate as much as they can from the original grant request into the overall project. Okay. And what is your timeline?
I thought he said 30 days he could do the plans.
30 days he could do the plans. And then from there, the county puts it back on the streets to be bid. Okay. All right. Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve item B4 from consent.
I second.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. Is there any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, nothing under awards and appearances tonight. We're gonna go to public hearings. Assemblage?
This is the first reading for the Montour Ranch Estates Land Development Code Amendments. We had a first reading that occurred in July. However, subsequent to that time, we discovered there was a minor amendment that needed to be taken care of regarding a reference to a section that was being replaced by the amendment. So it was a simple change, but it is necessary to have advertisements and public hearings on the correct request. So the first reading was on July 27th. As you know, the comp plan amendment was adopted last month. And what I'd like to do is highlight the changes that have occurred since the July 27th meeting based on the board's input, community's input, and staff's input as well. And I'm turning to the second page of my staff report under analysis. And in that, I'm highlighting that the first item that was changed is what I just referred to, and it was the table of use regulations, footnote 6, to reference the new section 1-53-3.9.3. The second item was something that was discussed by the board and also with the public, has to do with shipping containers as to be used as homes. And since we had a number of folks that were interested in being able to have container homes for, transforming them into a residence, staff is coming up with a compromise that would allow them to submit their building permit plans with their engineered building permits by the end of January 2022. And after that point in time, no new container homes would be permitted. And the folks that have called me directly regarding their desire to build these residences and container homes were happy with that extension because they had contracts with architects and also engineers working on their plans, and they felt like this would give them enough time to follow through on that monetary commitment that they've made. Do you have any questions regarding that item at this point?
Do they have carports and porch on them?
We are now we are no longer permitted to require design standards
So,
for residences. And so your point there was one of the reasons why we were eliminating the ability to have container homes, because we could not require them to have some kind of design standards going forward. But this was a compromise that we came up with.
When we did the Wheeler Estates, we were working on the modular homes versus site-built homes. What was the extension we put on that? Was it an entire year like we're doing here?
No, it's not a year that we're going.
You said the end of 2022, correct?
No, January 30th of 2022.
31st,
Okay, I
2022.
misheard you. I apologize. Very good. That was my question. You answered
Yes,
it.
okay.
Are we able to make any changes at all if we wanted to, and it'd still be the first reading, or we'd have to start off?
No, the board can make recommendations for, direct staff to make changes. And we would present that at the adoption hearing, on the 26th.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
what do you dislike?
So I would like to, so we're going to have the landowners register their animals?
Oh, I haven't gotten there.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You
So
first.
with that being said, so we can't recommend that they do driveways. Is that what you're saying also?
Well, they're gonna have to do it.
They're gonna have to do it. I thought you said they have to recommend, okay.
Yes,
No, ma'am, this just pertains to the building standards, as Mr. Harris was saying. In
Design.
Port LaBelle, part of Port LaBelle, we're talking about making it look more like a home with the
Yes.
the foundation being remodified. It was doing roofs that made difference, porches and different things. And obviously, in this situation, that's not
We're not able to
something
do
we're
it.
gonna be able to do here.
that's correct. And
Right.
those existing design standards, as I mentioned a number of meetings ago, is we have to revise those because of the preemption. from
The state preempted
Right.
us. The state said they can put a box up and live in it.
Yeah, and so we'll be bringing something forward to help address some of the visual impacts that we were trying to address through the design standards. It's a little different approach.
And I think a lot of the genesis behind this, Mr. Chair, was the state also is getting hit from the development community because you had commercial developers that were building on frontage in other metropolitan areas, and they were having to spend in their opinion, hundreds of thousands of dollars to make sure the facade's matched and things like that. And they're not saying that some of the development community is not saying that they're anti that, but they're saying that some of it is just government interference at a level that they don't feel it needs to be. So they're trying to find a way. I think the state got a little overzealous with their language on the preemption. And so it's making our ability to monitor what's going in difficult, but, we're going to muddle through it, so. Unless you disagree, Ms. Emledge, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
You're spot on.
Because it's, I don't think that we were delayed in having the discussion. I think that we were just trying to say with development that we were current, because we weren't experiencing a lot of it. And so we had the conversation. I don't think we were the genesis for why it happened. We were such a small blip on it, but, trying to move it on.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, number 3 is simply revising, creating a new number for hobby farm standards, is making the statement that, that we're referencing the correct provisions that, regarding the animal care requirements. The next item is similar. We integrated the animal care requirement again, so nobody forgets that it's required and it's in the Montura section, because that has been a big concern of the communities and everyone. So this next item is what Commissioner Iglesias was getting to, is the, I'll refer to it generally as the grandfathering discussion. And as you remember, you had some concerns regarding that, what was previously recommended, and here we've come up with an option stating that the folks that have unlimited animals would have to come in and register. If they don't, then they would not be in compliance. And it's not a carte blanche grandfathering. It's requiring them to come in to register their animals. And we have some criteria that we listed out. It's saying at a minimum that we would require information regarding the address, the deed, proving ownership, the description, location, and photographs of the existing animal shelters, pens, or enclosures, with the idea of making sure that, the animals are well kept and are healthy and so on. And I'm just going to leave it at that with my description and open it up for input.
So you've got on there a January 30th, 2022 date to be registered. I'd like to see us extend that.
That's June 30th?
June 30th.
June 30th, I'm sorry, June 30th of 2022. If it pleases the board, I'd like to extend that, maybe make it a full year, maybe go till December.
What, Commissioner Iglesias, there, so all I would ask is a handful of questions regarding enforceability. What are your thoughts on, what are staff's thoughts on bringing this into compliance? And then what kind of a number are we talking about? Are we talking about 20 farms? Are we talking about 5? Are we talking about 100? That's where I'm, I don't have a solid idea.
Right.
And so for me, I don't know if that's a code enforcement job or a code enforcement with FDACS or who, but, knowing what we're talking about and then the method of how we're actually going to monitor it. So I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not even for this. I'm not even for doing this if we're not going to have the ability to be able to assess and check in the future. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So how are we going to enforce this?
Well, it would be through code enforcement, and let's start off with our recommendation.
And it's not that I think it's a bad idea. It's just, are we creating an arbitrary rule that's going to be on the books that is going to create a tremendous amount of more work? It's kind of like I look at it as, somebody telling you have to do X, Y, and Z, but we're not ever really going to check.
It's kind of like,
On the same side of that, this is a situation here, What you're really going to capture are the ones that are trying to do it right. When they come in and try to do it right, they're the ones that are going to get penalized. Everyone else is not going to be in that situation. We can't completely take care of what we have now in the county and add more to this. I get it. We got to do something down the road, but right now, the more we add to code enforcement, we don't have the ability to enforce what we're doing now.
That's a better way, Mr. Chair, of articulating another major concern of what I have, that I didn't say it quite that clearly.
And before I was on here, you guys had a sweep in Montura and Twin Lakes and wherever, and code enforcement was behind, and then finally you guys did what, I think 730 cases when you did a sweep, and I think that's a reflection of not being able to get to inspect by not having the amount of staff, and I think that's what you're trying to say.
No, I will stand by. Since 2006, staff is not the issue. Follow through and follow up is the issue.
Gotcha.
And then putting the proper tools in the hands of code enforcement has also been a major hindrance towards that. But I can tell you, I'm flat out embarrassed of the disarray of some of the properties that are on Main Street, District 5. There's two men back there in Flaghole right now. It's Pine, isn't it? The one right there on the corner of Flaghole and Pine, that, at the height of the boom, it looked like poop. And today in 2021, it's a little bit cleaned up. But the number of excuses of why we haven't been able to deal with that, and I think that's a matter of, we don't have the code enforcement tools in the toolbox. We have not said we're going to look at a handful of these properties, and we're not going to allow any excuse to be in our way of saying why we're not dealing with them. And so I think we're getting closer to addressing that. But I go back to what the chair just said, and I'd love to have, from a staff standpoint, you tell me, I'm a huge proponent of lists and pictures. And so is the concept of this just being, is it another Excel spreadsheet that says at address 125 Montero and Bald Cypress 344 and all this stuff, all these different places, this is a farm that has, and these are the registrants, the volume of animals, and that's going to be in an Excel spreadsheet? Or is it going to be like the kindergartner that starts their portfolio that follows them through their entire career up through graduation? What are your thoughts on that?
With the registration process.
I think it's broke.
Oh, okay then.
Is it not necessary anymore?
No, it's not.
Man, we're fancy.
Talk loud. Anyway, with the registration process, we would put that information into our Track-It system. And in that Track-It system, it's easy for not only staff, but even the public to see which properties have registered and so on, and being able to follow up. Now, I'm going to defend code enforcement. They are doing a fantastic job. And
I'm gonna agree with her on that.
I would love it if you were to see how they're operating now and how they're really making things happen. The special magistrate process has helped a whole lot on this. And we have a really good group that's working right now, and we are making a lot of progress. I know that there are properties that are, I know what you're talking about, and we do have challenges on some properties for various reasons where, our tools are limited on them, and part of it has to do with the Florida statutes on what we're allowed to do and not do. But on the other hand, we're really making headway on it, and I really think that with the registration program that we can follow up on it. I realize that unless we make part of the registration program requiring them to allow us to go on the property to witness what they have, the information they've given us, so we have a baseline. And from that point on, it's just a matter of being able to monitor them through the typical code enforcement and complaint-driven process. And my understanding is, from listening to the community, that there are a number of folks that have unlimited animals that are not in the greatest environment.
Animals are starving on the hoof.
Not necessarily
Okay.
starving, but their environment isn't necessarily that great. But the ones that are starving on the hoof, you know, we're working with the, not only with the sheriff's department, but for other, you know, the dogs and situation, we're working with animal control. But getting back to my point is that I feel like this is our best route. The other route would be no grandfathering, and then everybody that we find that we are able to observe that have bad conditions and too many animals. Now, mind you, a lot of them are behind the house and so on, but we would be approaching it with code enforcement there, because we would be telling them that they have to comply with this new number of animals, that they're no longer allowed to have unlimited animals. And either way, we have a challenge with enforcement, but it's not any different than our big book of code of ordinances on challenges and enforcement. And I just really feel like this is an option, may not be the only option, but this is an option that will help and give us tools to be able to address the unlimited animals.
Does everybody have to register?
Anybody that currently has unlimited animals that are above the proposed limitations that we have, that we're proposing here, anybody that has those would have to register. If they don't, then they would be out of compliance again.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Emlich, is this Montura specific?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is the
So
land use study.
why are you picking on Montura and not Ladika? Why are you picking on Montura and not Pioneer? Why are you picking on Montura and not Fort Deneau?
Because Ladika is ag, they can have as many animals as they want because it's A2.
Okay?
Pioneer is rural residential, they have limited number of animals.
They already have,
They already have a limitation of
yes,
animals.
ma'am. Yep.
So Montour is the only community that the board approved back in the 90s, that they could have unlimited animals on their 1.25 acre parcels.
So a great answer for us to our constituency base is that, quite frankly, we disagree with the decision that was made back in the 90s with the board, if we go with this, and we're wanting to essentially correct a wrong. We want to tweak the language to kind of bring us into compliance so that we have more consistency across the table.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
In turn, it also came out from the land use study that was requested as well.
From the residents.
From the
Correct.
residents, from the community.
Right, because the issue of fish farms, commercial ag, and unlimited animals has been the impetus to a lot of this effort.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
You know, I use the statement of we have animals starving on the hoof, but the fact is, Ms. Emlich, we also have, I'm sure code enforcement has a tremendous amount, not a tremendous amount, but you have some volume of calls that because of the unlimited animals, it's what the neighbor would consider a public nuisance.
Correct.
Okay, and so once again, this is a tool that code enforcement is coming to the board saying, please enact this as a policy standpoint in unison with the constituents of that community having had 8 community meetings. And this is something that kind of rang true, because I feel, board, that in the conversations that I've had with constituents in Montura, they want to see a process that prevents the unlimited animals on the next 2.5 acres that are purchased from whoever.
Correct.
They don't want to see that continue.
Right.
And then they also feel that while a very difficult process for the board / county to be able to enforce, they feel that there are some properties that need to be brought into compliance, so to speak.
Correct.
Okay. And so we're going to implement a tool that's going to allow you to do that. The only thing I would add to it is Ms. Emlich, you kind of answered it, but could you answer it one more time, please? What does that item look like? And I know what I envision in my head. You're saying you do not see a picture that big somewhere in an office that has 13 farms that are listed. It's just going to be electronic, black and white letters on paper.
It's going to be in our track-it system that everybody has access to.
Okay,
And, like I said, including the public, through e-track-it. And it allows us to keep track of, everything that has to do with not only, our building permits, our planning and zoning applications, but also our code enforcement cases and in very much a lot of detail. So yes, it'll be electronically available. Reports can be created at any time if somebody would like to see them. And that's all I have.
Mr. Chair, so what happens when someone comes and say, 1105 have not, registered their animals? What happens then?
Then we would open up, first of all, we'd go see them and ask them. Initially, we like to talk to the folks before we open up a case. But if they're uncooperative and we think that is correct, that the complaint is correct, we can pursue a code enforcement case that could go to the special magistrate if they don't cooperate. But here's what we're going to do ahead of time. And I appreciate, I've been talking with Mark and Jennifer about this. We have the ability to send, I'll call it a postcard, to every property owner using the mailing address that we have from the property appraiser, knowing that a lot of those come back, but that's the only source we have. But sending out a postcard to every property owner, notifying them of this registration requirement and letting them know where to contact us and where they can find the forms and the information that's required. And then we start getting, probably take a while for folks to come in and or submit electronically registration. And but there's two things that we've discussed here is that I don't have in here, all of the requirements, but I do think that I think we can come up with some more criteria that would help make the tool better, like being able to perform inspections or some other items that we might think of here.
We're going to help folks initially, right? So some people are going to get it and they're going to comply and they're going to register. We're going to do it have an ability to do it online to make it easier. And there's going to be folks that would have registered, want to be compliant, but maybe they didn't get the postcard or whatever. Maybe somebody calls in with a complaint. We're going to go out and, as we normally do code enforcement anyway, if we see something, we're going to help them be compliant, for a time.
Right.
So we're not trying to have a gotcha moment on people, out of the gate. We're going to try to help them. Then at some point in time, that's why you're discussing the date.
That was my premise of wanting to give them more time, because you gotta remember what we're dealing with. We have a language barrier out there. You're talking about having them register online if possible. Internet's an issue. Listen, they've been doing this since 1993, and now we've done a land use study in the last 18 months. Why force it upon them by June the 30th? What's wrong with just giving them some extra time and say, hey, if we're gonna make it time certain, go to the end of the year?
the only thing I would say, Mr. Iglesias, I'd like to split the time with you. I'd like to go to October date, and then I would like to request that staff picks it. But I think that we need to take this information that we're implementing, and we need to send staff with multiple laptops, and we need to attend 2 or 3 different Central County Water Drainage District meetings, and have staff paid and ready to sit there as, you set up a satellite office essentially, and you begin that process of registration if people want to stand in line and do that. In this community, the closest we're going to get to compliance is going to them, in my opinion. And I look at, I serve a lot of outlying areas. Flaghole being the most sophisticated of those areas, and there are still constituents in Flaghole that will not, and it's not that they're being defiant, they're just old and comfortable at their house. So they're not gonna come to town unless they've done something illegal, and they haven't done anything illegal. And so I just think if this is one of those things, to quote Commissioner Taylor, taking government to the people, you know, she used to say that all the time. And so I think if that's something that we could think about, I mean, y'all did a number of presentations out there. I just think, you know, I think it would build goodwill too.
Yes,
The
I
Central
agree.
County Board really seems to, you know, be moving the ball in the right direction out there, so.
Well, we can do that. We can set up a registration day for them.
Ms. Image, I don't think you're receptive to it, but I really wish your staff would consider those GIS pictures like that, with the registration of it. So that a constituent, when they say we're picking on them, or we don't know they exist, or something along those lines, I can't tell you how many times I've calmed people's nerves when I've rolled out, you know, about half that size and said, no, actually, look, your house is right here, and we're gonna be cleaning right there and putting a road in. And they know that the county's looking at them, you know what I mean? They don't know that the county's looking at them from a big brother standpoint. They go, oh, wow, you guys have actually printed a picture off with my neighborhood on it, and you're taking into consideration what we look like from this level? And I think that if, you know, I go back to that, do we know how many farms we're talking about, hobby farms we're talking about? Are we talking about 27 of them? Or are we talking about 270 of them? And I think if Montura was depicted in that form, and you could say, you know, Swanson and Garcia and Martinez and so on and so forth, I just think, man, it would be a powerful tool. Do you understand what I'm articulating, or not really? I don't think you do.
Create a layer map. You just create a layer map with GIS with information coming from Track It.
Of the
and
ones we're
we can
aware of.
Visualize, right.
And then as it populates, you know, that's what it is in October X 2021. That's what we know we have registered. Then, you know, December of 2021. So now it starts to rule out, are we getting compliance, and do we know how many we have? And man, there's a lot more than what we thought. Our county administrator was stunned when she flew over Montura. Is that incorrect to say? It was shocking to her. And I think it was shocking to her on a volume of levels. For me, I've been fortunate enough to see the growth of humanity out there and know the conditions. And it's not any different than a lot of other areas in our county. You know, they've exploded, but they've had some blight that has exploded as well. And you know, it just amazes me how quickly that takes off and runs sometimes. So. You get it, Ms. Imblage?
Yes, you want to be able to map the locations of the folks that register.
Why do you dislike that idea?
It's not that I dislike it, it's just an additional piece to the tracking system.
Okay. But it wouldn't, like you can take your track it system and
It's not, we can do it.
yeah,
Our GIS,
yeah,
we can do it. Rob can do it.
via addresses
Right.
Yeah,
laid on top.
yeah.
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 Okay.
Absolutely.
I think it'd be interesting to look at.
Okay, so do you have a motion to approve with the date change?
Will you go to October?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I
That's good, that's a year
I
from now.
second
anyway.
your motion.
Okay,
October 20.
Halloween?
Yes, ma'am. I like Halloween. I have a very dear friend that was born then. He almost married my brother.
So you're not, you don't need a motion here, we can, because this is the first reading, not
Okay.
a second reading, and
Okay.
so, but you can give your direction, and I think
So I
staff
direct
is
staff
hearing
to
your
change it
sentiment
October
that you want the
31st.
next draft to say October 31st, 2022.
Correct.
Are there any other changes you want to see?
Mr. Chair, but let's say you didn't get compliance in that time, would you use that time until December to go out on site? Could you use the other time to go out on site in case you didn't get the compliance that you need? He was asking to extend it to December, but if everybody don't comply, would you
Right.
do it before then or after then?
We're going to do it
Within that time limit?
we're going to do it, starting the adoption of this, we're going to be communicating with the community on what the requirements are, so they have an opportunity. And after the October 31st, 2022, if they didn't register, we're still going to get with them and
Yeah.
say, hey, you know, you're supposed to do this and you didn't, you know, let's work with you. I mean, that's what we'll do.
Yeah, you've been messing around since 1993. We need this done yesterday. Assemblage, last question as it relates to this. What are the different mediums that you anticipate you'll put it out on the market? You know what I mean, to let people know?
Here's what we've done with the land use meetings that we had. In addition to what I stated, we will send mailers out that'll be postcards, that'll be in English and Spanish. and that will highlight the registration process for the unlimited animal. We will also make a note of where they can find, once again, the documents that we're going to be adopting between the comp plan and the land development code, which we've done all along. We have it on Facebook, we have it on our website, we also have Central-
Email list?
Yes. Central County Water Control District website. We have a big email group that we accumulated through the process. And we have other folks in the community that have, excuse me, websites or Facebook pages that they do post it on as well. Putting it in the paper, but those different avenues of communication seem to have worked through our process.
All right. Sounds
Did you
good.
have any other ideas?
I was just thinking maybe the radio station, I know that Dollar Deal gets hit up pretty hard out there. It's just a thought, you know.
A couple other things.
I know when Emily goes on, I'm shocked when Miss Hunter goes on, how many times I get texts from that following up, hey, you haven't done it in a while, I don't think, but when you're on that government side with Nicole, it seems to pay dividends, I think, so.
We also post flyers at the mail kiosk and, of course, at the clubhouse. And again, Central County Water Control District
Yes, ma'am.
has been a good partner with us.
Yes, ma'am. Awesome.
Anything else?
This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak at this time concerning this matter. Seeing none. Thank you, Ms. Emmons.
Thank you.
We'll bring us to staff reports, Ms. Davis.
Yes, sir. I have the MOA with DEO for your approval for a rural area of opportunity designation.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Glacier, second by Commissioner Harris. Is there any further discussion on this?
Their appointments.
All those in favor?
Hold on a second. It calls for some appointments. And that was one of the reasons it was under staff reports was for you to specify the elected or appointed official that you wanted as the contact, and then the nonprofit person you wanted to designate.
I thought we'd already did that.
But it's not a board member?
Well, the first one, the elected one, could be a board member, or it could be a staff member, like the administrator that you appoint.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
is it you currently, Commissioner Iglesias?
I'm on FIRA, yep,
That's it though, right?
yeah.
Well, he can stay on there.
So that's the one, and then the nonprofit organization appointee.
I'm just confused. I thought that, so there's the rural area of economic development. It is FIRO. They're one and the same, are they not?
Correct. Yeah,
That's how
this
I
this
understood
direction
it.
came from FIRA,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So we have Commissioner Iglesias already appointed there.
And so if it's the will of the board, then he can remain.
Yeah, no, everybody wants to
Right.
leave him right there.
So
Who's
we-
our, okay, and then who's our staffer? Ms. Davis, do you attend?
Nonprofit. The first appointment is a public official or employee. You're making it an official,
Right.
so it wouldn't be an employee. And the second one.
Has
is-
been an official.
Yes.
Right. I think the one on file with him was like really old. It was like, it wasn't.
Commissioner Swindle?
Yeah, it was like Judy Cake.
And Greg
It-
Gilman.
Yeah, it was really old. This hasn't been updated in a while.
Okay, so
So-
FIRO's getting their stuff in order.
But
All
the
right.
nonprofit
right.
appointee is what you need to do.
Okay, so, I would, Mr. Chair, make a
I'm sorry.
motion to,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Just one other with you. It's not just nonprofit, but a nonprofit engaged in economic development.
so we need to find a human in Henry County that's engaged in a nonprofit that wants to participate in this. Do you have someone in mind, or do you want it to be Keitha Daniels?
I would recommend it be Keitha.
Okay, and it has to be a nonprofit. Let me think for 31 seconds. Is there anybody else that y'all have in mind?
I think that'd be good.
I think it'd be the most natural thing.
She doesn't sleep already, so might as well
Keitha
add
would
something
be
else
into,
to it.
so.
Yeah.
All right, so I make a motion to approve Keitha Daniels as well, on the appointed official associated with Ready.
I'll second that, but I guess she has the opportunity to decline that, right?
I mean, she would, but
Again, we got a motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Iglesias. Again, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Assemblage.
This agenda item, a corrected version was sent to you all, and I also provided you a copy this evening as well. This is a request from the Harlem.
Ms. Emley,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to cut you off. I think we're all familiar with the board book. I'll make a motion, to approve the requested waiver for the Harlem Tenants Association, and then I have a question. Do we have a $200 deposit on file with the Harlem Tenants Association for usage of our facilities?
No,
Okay.
and this isn't for the usage of our
This is different.
facilities that we're talking about. This is for special events.
Yep, nope, I was just wondering, okay, let me ask it differently. Do we have a $200 deposit on file from the Harlem Tenants Association?
Not that I know of.
Okay,
I know that there was one that was going to be returned, and I don't know where it is in the process.
all right. If the board has any hesitation about us setting a bad precedence with, putting this out on the street, so to speak, then, I want to nip that in the bud, and this can go on the streets, I don't care. I want to front the $200 for the Harlem Tenants Association. We're gonna go ahead and waive it, but I still want to, we're gonna waive it. The board's not gonna have any official action, in my opinion, if we vote for that. Can't do what?
It doesn't work with our
I want a deposit on file associated with HTA. And the reason why I want that is every entity that comes to our county and asks to use a facility, I want them to have to put a deposit on file so that it just goes back to my brain being a bad human in college. And, I knew that I was going to lose a first, last, and all of that security if we didn't do something. So tell me why we can't do that. I want their organization to be able to hold $200 over their members and or the people participating, saying, we're going to lose this if you don't help us make it nice.
We've never done that with the Fall Festival.
We don't
but
hold
are
any money on anything.
But we are required to have $1 million policy.
Wait, who's we? The church?
The church.
Okay.
We have to buy event insurance every year just to use that for the Fall Festival. So
Where's that at?
the rodeo grounds on the Bell.
So you have a festival.
Every year.
Your church has a festival at the rodeo grounds,
Correct.
Right.
everybody lives.
and your church has to
We have to provide insurance.
provide insurance for the usage of that facility
That's correct.
with $1 million policy.
That's right.
But I think Harlem Tenants Association is still providing an insurance policy.
No, my point is we do not pay a deposit.
Oh, you're saying you don't have a deposit.
We don't have a deposit, but we
So
are
precedent has
required-
already been stated.
But we have to bring the certificate of insurance, and that's it.
They're not willing to not bring a certificate of insurance. Is that correct?
From what I understand, they're willing to come in and submit the $50 permit fee for each event.
Okay.
What they're asking for a waiver from is for the $200 damage and cleanup fee for their events. And I'm not quite sure how it would work if you were to, when they come in for their next event, you give them a check to
Nope.
put down. But
Well, a clarification that's needed is that it's my understanding this event does not occur at a county facility. Does not. So we're getting two things muddled here. We got special events on private property.
Yep.
And we've got special event or just events at county facilities.
Yep.
Right.
We're talking about special events on private property.
Specifically as it relates to this, and that's it?
Think so?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, whose property is it?
What happens when the Harlem Tenants Association wants to use the Harlem Civic Center or the Harlem Gym for whatever? Do they have to pay a $200 deposit then?
they would.
They would. That's what I want that to go on file for. Okay? It's just gonna hang out. It's gonna be a check in escrow. Why is that not appropriate?
It's 200. It is 200 for county facilities, isn't it, the deposit?
Yeah, for-
Yes.
I'm trying to keep Janet Taylor from coming back to these chambers and chewing on anyone anymore as it relates to this issue. Is that clarified?
I don't know if we can stop that.
I don't think you can. I think you can.
So what property is it on?
It's private property.
It's private property, it's the tree park.
Facility.
Mr. Chair, you better get that one in line, boy.
Special events.
Get in
It
line.
was a facility.
Come up,
Yeah,
come up.
Janet Taylor here.
You know the process.
Okay,
Take that mask off.
if it was a facility that we were doing, then that would be one thing. But this is on, and with the insurance that you were talking about, Chairman, that's for the facility. And we have our insurance already on the property, so we're already covered with the property. This is only for special event. And Carson.
Okay, so then we waive that and we're good on the special
good.
events. Yep.
Do
I made
you-
that in the form of a motion, Mr. Chair.
Janet,
But we still take you up on your $200.
I got you. I know you ain't turning down a check.
Another time. For all the other activities that we have.
Janet, so every time you have an activity, do you have to call the county?
You all want us to, because it's a special event, to pay $50 for a special event permit, which we do once a month.
So if you had 15, you'd call her 15 times? If you
If
had,
we had 15, we pay $50.
right,
And they do involve staff every time, Mr. Harris.
Every time.
okay.
And we don't, because it's not a facility, it's just a special use permit. that we-
Okay.
And this is not setting a precedent, because this has been in the statute since some time. But I don't know if anybody's ever used it, so we did see that.
We got a motion on the floor.
I'll second it.
There you go. Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Iglesias. Is there any further discussion on this?
I just would like to say thank you so much.
I have something to say. So my question is this just a one-time, or is this every time that you come, or?
You mean for the $50?
No, not the $50 for the waiver, I don't have a problem with the waiver because that's private property.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with that, but my thing, when a special permit come, what if it's food trucks, that come?
So they're,
We have to comply with the.
You're gonna come every time.
Okay.
okay.
If it's a special event permit we're having, if we're having food trucks or whatever we're having, we go into their office,
That'll trigger it.
we apply for the special event permit, we pay $50. They decide whether or not they will approve the food trucks or whatever it is.
I just wanted clarification. I
Yeah,
understand
that's
that,
why I
yeah.
called- That's
Yeah.
why I sent you the text the other day so that we can
Yeah,
get
and
all
everything
that
was
before
fine, it
tonight.
still is now. You know, some people add a little something to it
Yeah,
and it kind of
absolutely.
changed a little bit there.
Great
So,
point,
but I
Ms. Bird.
understand everything, I just wanted to make sure we clarify, so thank you so much.
I can tell you some of the special permits on our side are, no. Some of the special permits on our side of the county are just a no. Some of the stuff goes on there. I don't want Brooks and Dunn in my backyard at 1 o'clock in the morning.
And that's the control that the county has.
No.
Once we come and apply for it, if it's something that they don't think this is in, they have the right
Right.
to say no.
And the special permit is different than the
Commissioner
waiver,
Turner
yeah.
What?
Comes to our event. You know how orderly they are. It's a shame we have to pay the $50. Even, that one back there in that uniform is at every event that we have once a month.
Janet, with
tell
all
us
due
secrets now.
respect, he won't pass up a free meal for
Free
nothing,
food.
I can promise you
Right.
that.
That's it.
But, he don't even have to send the patrols out for us. We don't have to have police, thing or nothing. He'll tell them they're having an event in the park, ride by there and look. And you see the condition of it, Commissioner Turner.
Yes, ma'am.
But I certainly do appreciate you all approving that, and I need to sign a thing for comment in public,
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, anything under old business, commissioners?
Next.
It's not on old business, but I have something I do wanna add to old business.
Okay.
So I don't want to wait until we do business by district because I think it has a little bit more substance to the conversation. Was there anything else though that we had on the agenda? Is that it?
No, sir, that's all on the agenda.
So Commissioner Wills, you have very nicely and very diplomatically, and maybe too quietly, in my opinion, said to this board, we have to look at internal pay of employees. I'm not putting words in your mouth, am I?
No, sure you're not.
I think that the board as a whole has been receptive towards that conversation. And I don't need to get into the genesis of why this has weighed so heavily on me the last few weeks. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. But the biggest thing that I've been a proponent of is wanting to know how many people are in the clerk's office or how many people are in the supervisor elections and, all of the constitutionals, tax collectors and so on and so forth. How many of those people are, in that minimum wage to $15 an hour? I think our county administrator has done a great job of giving those details to us. Ms. Davis, I want to say you said, and I'm not trying to hold you to the fire here, but it was like $494,000, wasn't it, towards our overall budget to bring everyone up to was that just to current requirement? So if they were at 11, they had to go to 12, so on and so forth? Or was that to bring everybody to $15 an hour?
That was for $15 an hour.
So $500,000 plus minus to bring just board employees?
But that was, and I'm sorry, I don't.
Yeah, I know. I'm hitting you cold out the clear blue
I
sky.
don't have it in front of me, but if my memory serves, and I'll stand corrected and send you something later this week, just to make sure and explain it. But we scheduled it out over the
Yes.
period of time of the requirement, and that last jump from
Was pretty
14 to
massive.
15, I thought was 400. So each year it wasn't as much. We only had like 2 or 3 last year. I think we only had a couple this year. The 3% COLA that we give, it helps. Maybe somebody would have fallen into it, but after the COLA, they didn't fall into it. And so we scheduled it out, and going from the 14 to 15 year, there was a big jump. And I thought it was over $400,000
Yes,
in
ma'am.
that 1 year. And so we've been working on, since last year, we've been looking at that overall and working more on the lower end and looking at the departments and looking at the employees' longevity, performance, et cetera, and making adjustments as needed. And we've been updating that. We just updated it for the 3% COLA that was effective the first of this month. And Ian and Adelia, our HR director, and myself met, I think it was 2 weeks ago, because we were getting ready for the first of the year. They're working on updating everything with the 3% we have now. And then we have a meeting that will be coming to look at that and look and see where we are, because all those figures will change a little bit.
So if somebody makes 13, you gonna gradually bring them up to 15 plus the 3%?
Well, that's what we were looking at. Each year was assuming a 3%.
But that answers, the technical answer to that question is no. They will get a 3% cost of living, and that will take them as close as it can to 15. That's a natural occurrence. And then Miss Davis and her staff have gone through and looked at the performance. They haven't just willy-nilly, in my opinion, just willy-nilly said, we're gonna give X human a raise. They've said, what have they done? We're gonna keep this fair and equitable across the board. This person is deserving of a raise, plus they're getting their 3%, or this person with 3% is deserving of the raise that we were gonna give them, so on and so forth. Meanwhile, all of those contributing factors are working towards getting everyone at 15, which isn't our mandate, it's the state of Florida's new mandate. So we're working towards that mandate.
Well, the state's not gonna give everybody 15, right?
State's absolutely gonna give everybody
Yeah, but
15.
I mean, not right off the
For a period of
bat.
time.
No, it goes, Commissioner Harris, it goes 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It was phased in like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jennifer, in those numbers, you're including workers' comp and benefits as part of that, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. And then,
It's a juice number.
and not for anything, separately, we have to look at it. We have a union, and it's our EMS union, and we have to look at that a little, maybe the same or maybe differently, but we have to look at that with the current union contract that we have and how we deal with those employees as well.
Because if there's a bump that goes to one, the union may file grievance against they're not receiving, or?
Well, because the EMT pay falls within that adjustment,
Okay.
right? And so you have EMT, and then you have a delta, if you will, from an EMT and a paramedic.
I have a number of questions if y'all don't mind, and I hope that we'll continue to jump in on like this.
Yeah, no, and then actually, the portion of that was was the longevity of what I brought in the last meeting. My point there was, we have folks that's been here 20 years, 30 years. We've only got a couple that's been over 30. There are very few now, what, 3? Anybody remembers? I know we got Kenny Edens is over 30, Gary McCormick's over 30. But when you start going back, Scotty would just got over 30. When you start going back toward the 80s when we all started, you probably have Roger Greer should be pushing 30. Alan Bowen should be pushing 30. But my point there was to take these gentlemen that's, we got a new hire coming in, we're starting with 15.
Yes.
My point was we needed to make some sort of adjustment to the ones that's been there forever. Is that part of the question?
Absolutely.
That was part of the equation I was speaking of the last meeting, because.
Well, I want to jump right in on it. I mean, let me tell you my proposal.
Go ahead,
Is, so the county administrator, and Jennifer, please interject if you disagree, or if I put a word in your mouth or something you don't like, or if you think that if y'all think this is a stupid idea, then say, Commissioner Turner, it's dumb and we don't need to do this, we don't need to consider it. I don't want kind of where I'm thinking talk, okay? But Ms. Davis sent me the line of credit update, and you all saw, everybody got that email, everybody saw what we're spending money on. One of those is upgrades to a facility in Clewiston, right? And it's, Ms. Davis, $250,000 plus minus somewhere in there. And then I didn't ask you this, but what does our Hurricane Disaster Relief Fund, please don't hit me, what does our Hurricane Disaster Relief Fund have in it right now?
$4.5 million.
$4.5 million.
About.
So plus minus 4.5 million sitting in the rainy day account. And I'm sitting up here talking about stroking a check for $200 to Miss Taylor like it's nothing. And I don't mean to get all emotional or anything like that, because I'm not a nice person, but the gist is that we have $4.5 million sitting in there collecting insurance. I hear our county administrator, who's met with our staff, who have looked at it from a professional standpoint and said $500,000 over X number of years to get everybody to that floor 15. But then, by God, you throw the biggest wrench in the whole discussion for me. I don't know if it was 2 weeks ago or a little bit further now, where you said, Commissioner Turner, I appreciate you worried about that bottom end. But what about these people that have been with us whenever minimum wage was $4 or $5? And I've heard you routinely say you come to work for the county for the benefits and the fact that you have, stability, if you will. And listen, I'm a private business guy. There's been years in quality of life where we don't give a cost of living. Right. We don't give a bonus. And we had to do that in this county for a number of years. And our county employees held the rope on us. But I am saddened to my core whenever I hear our chair, who you paid your mortgage off of county taxpayers' dollars, giving you a paycheck every week, and you brought to light. I remember going through a census when I first got elected, and I looked at what everybody made, and I said, man, we need to adjust this. There's some people that aren't getting paid very well. But by God, I've been asleep at the wheel for a number of years as it relates to this process. And I want to challenge us as a board to look at that 4.5 million, to look at that line of credit list of projects that we're doing. And if we're talking about spending $250,000 so that it's a more convenient process, so for the people that are coming from Glades, Broward, Miami-Dade, Palm Beach, they don't have to wait as long at the tax collector's office. But I got people that have been operating a Grade R. He can do it with his eyes closed, And I don't know if they all have a CDL. I don't know if there's other ways that we can grade them up and say, okay, we're going to get you to X number of dollars more per hour. But I don't want this to be something that sits on the old business item for 6 months, 10 months without any action. I want to challenge us as a board to give Ms. Davis direction. I don't know if it's $500K. I don't know if it's $250K. I would like to ask our county administrator to come back to us. But I think it's time that we try to get people out of living in poverty a little bit more. We're not going to be able to get everybody above the poverty line. And then I think it's also time for Ms. Davis to put together a plan that says, if you've been with Hendry County for X number of years, and your cost of living adjustment, on top of the fact that you haven't received, we don't do bonus at year end and stuff like that, but you just sat there stagnant with X, while this person has had, the increased percentage thereof. I don't necessarily want to say that's not fair, but I think that we're paying some of our top end people below what market is in those departments. And so, I open it up for discussion with that. And understand, guys, I want to go back to the fact, to me, there's no bigger atrocity on the planet than giving everybody a participation trophy. And there's no bigger, sin than saying, well, I gave it to her, so I need to give it to her. And I gave it to him, so I need to give it to him. I don't agree with that in any way, shape, or form. But I do think that there's meat on the bone. We have made it through some of the doldrums. There's money within our system. And I think that we ought to try to look at that, and we need to give Ms. Davis the tools to try to fix that and come back to how we want to do that. Last statement that I'll make on that. My employees love overtime. It's a huge argument that the president of Quality Electric and some of the underlings at Quality Electric have. Doyle says at 73 years of age, by God, I like to have a weekend off every now and again. I say, I get it. But when the grind's on, he doesn't understand what taking time off is, and he doesn't vacation anyway properly. You say, okay, where are you going with this long drawn out point? What I'm saying is that as it relates to Shane's men in the road and bridge department, and I guess they're your guys, Shane. I take so much pride not knowing who operates what, because it's not my job. And it doesn't mean I don't like them. It's just we're policymakers. But anyway, I don't know how many people you got that drive a Skag lawnmower, right? How many is it off the hip?
Probably
4 to 6?
no higher.
8?
10.
10 guys. 10 guys that drive a Skag mower. Of those 10 guys that drive lawnmowers, they do a myriad of other things. How many of them are going to get any overtime if you remove the rain that happened? So we're going into a dry circuit now. How many of them are going to get any overtime in the month of October moving forward, or November?
During the rainies?
No. Don't give me a normal situation where we don't have essentially an emergency where we have to put people out and address water blowing out.
Once every 2 weeks.
Once every 2 weeks, they're going to get OT?
We're mowing airports or right-of-ways.
Okay. And essentially that,
Friday and Saturday.
okay, so they're going to get a Friday and Saturday OT because we're working 410s right now?
When it dries up, it'll go to just Fridays.
When what dries up?
When we get to the dry season,
Okay.
it'll go one day when the grass is growing.
So how many hours would be overtime?
Fridays, 10 hours. Saturday would be 20 hours.
Well, that's
Okay.
The rainy season, last reason that we had a lot of people working, mowing, everything.
I would love for that to be analyzed as well. And I don't know if you ask the employees, you have 52 weekends a year, and so let me give you an example, and I can't even believe my mind has shifted this so much, but like, Sugar Festival rolls to town, right? And when that mass of humanity comes in and they leave, it looks a little rough, Well, I know that's the city of Clueston ideal, right? So we can't do that. No. I think that this is where we marry up and we say, city of Clueston, do you need 4 more humans to go and do what your people are doing? And if it is, then you look at the bottom level earner and they get the opportunity to go do that. And I understand what I'm getting into is the definition of day-to-day operations within Hendry County. But I'm sorry that I'm doing that from this point. But the biggest thing is I want you all to know where I stand on it. I can't call you up and talk about this. It's against the law, and we get put in jail if we're found to discuss this, right?
Right now's the time.
But that's exactly right. And so I'm sorry for having this long drawn-out conversation, but it's kept me up. It's kept me up whenever Mitch did that to me the other day, and he said, I appreciate you worrying about the bottom end, but what about my top end as well? And it just stung me so hard. And then I look at what I pay my people. I look at what I can't even get people to entertain filling out an application if I'm not paying X, Y, or Z. And I look at the growth that's occurred in what an electrician that was making $25, $24, maybe, $23 to $26 an hour just a few years ago. Those guys are all making 27 to 32, plus I'm paying for their housing, plus I'm paying for their car, so the market conditions are going crazy in the private sector. What's government doing? And I'm sitting there with 4.5 million sitting in the bank, and I'm hesitant because I want to wait a full 3-4 years. No, I need to get yelled at by my constituents. I need to not be in this seat anymore if I'm holding people at a poverty level or a little bit below. And so, Ms. Davis, you're beyond wicked smart when it comes to knowing our butt. You know it better than anyone in the county. You've known it better than anyone in the county for a number of years. I want y'all's support to give her the tool to move this and give us something back on paper that says this is what we're gonna do. But like I said, guys, and Ms. Bird, I don't want this to be something that we're talking about in October of next year going, man, we really ought to think about doing this. I was real chill on the 730 days that it took us to get the special magistrate in. I wasn't chill, I was very angry about it, but I let it ride. But guess what? Foreclosing on people's property and giving code enforcement the tools to be a little bit more of a nuisance to the constituents of Henry County, that's not it. On this one, I'm overtly passionate about it. It haunts me, the fact that when I looked at those numbers and I thought about, Miranda Waddell hit me with a text today, and I don't even think about buying $500 $100 tickets to the Tiger dinner. You know what I mean? But I don't have a little human that I got to put food in, and I don't have to pay for anything like that. I pay for gas and my food and some other stuff. But by God, there's people that aren't making decisions about whether they're going to go to the cattleman's dinner because they don't have it. They don't have it. And we're sitting there with 4.5, and I want to make sure that the dadgum tax collector's office, we're going to knock a window down and put up new signage and all that stuff. To hell with your new signage. I'll sit there and have a moldy sign all day long and pay our people a little bit well. So anyway, I'm done. Thank you for allowing me to vent. I'm going to sleep better tonight because of this.
Well, the tax collector does need some repairs, maybe not a window, but they need some paving out there. A month ago during the budget workshop, I brought up whenever Jennifer said we had $4.5 million in the catastrophe fund, to take that $4.5 million and pay down the line of credit.
Did.
Remember that? And save the interest.
Interest is getting.
That's right. And then take the money that we were utilizing to pay the payment back to the line of credit and fund back the catastrophe fund. And should a hurricane come, go to the line of credit. At the end of the day, we're going to save money, right? And whether we use that for salaries or tools, heck, Road and Bridge was doing a job at 9 o'clock at night on a Wednesday at Flaghole Road and Woodland Boulevard, and we don't have a $10,000 light tower within the whole county. And I'll be honest with you, want to talk about being pissed? I was pissed. But that's what we need to know. We need to know what that wish list of what they need. And that wish list, it sounds like you're wanting, is we need to find that money to be able to fund these things. And with tax bases, we're going to get to that point. But were you able to look at that?
So we had an agreement with the line of credit that we had to, that we signed and agreed to, because we modified it several times because we kept rolling it. So we didn't have to draw it until we were going to use it. So we finally had to draw it according to the existing agreement, not long, like a couple weeks ago. So we've drawn it down. And so now we need to look and see if we can't, so that's an instrument that was specifically for repairs for the building. So now we need to look and see if we can't restructure it, right? And so if that's something that, so I understand correctly, you're talking about taking the money in the disaster, paying the credit line, but seeing if we can have it open for a future disaster, if we should need to use it for debris, because that's where most of it goes.
Correct. We're not paying interest on the line of credit
That we
by
could
the
draw it down
4.5.
for that purpose.
You'd have to borrow the money if you had a hurricane.
You'd borrow it, and then of course,
Hope
you
for
would
reimbursement
get
from the federal
reimbursement from FEMA.
But the idea is that we're not paying interest on, at least for 4.5. We're not making any, are you making any interest on the 4.5 million? Very little.
Yeah,
if you're-
there's some, they're in 2D CDs and a checking account.
It's quite a
but I
bit
don't-
less than what the
it's not a
interest
lot.
is.
It's
Yeah.
less than 4 points the last time I remember.
yeah.
It's more like a half a point, if
Right.
I remember correctly.
It's not very much,
Yeah.
yeah.
But so you want us to interject now, Commissioner? Or
Yeah,
you
go
want-
ahead.
I am not for taking the hurricane disaster relief and paying on the line of credit. And reason being is this: there's a psychological factor associated with it. I have to operate my company off of a line of credit, and it makes me sick to my stomach whenever I'm sitting there knowing that 6%. I'm getting 94 cents on every dollar because I got to pay for that line of credit. But there's also hard dollars and cents that are sitting in accounts that are associated with the rainy day fund in the event Quality Electric, Quality Dye Service, any of the numerous of things that, they experienced a major stump in their toe. We have to be able to access that. And for me, the percentage points that we pay from an interest standpoint, and I think I think a lot of private businesses, it'd be interesting to look at though. I think that they have those LOCs and they operate off of them from a cash flow perspective, and it's just operation cost. It's cost of doing business, And so, I understand there's an interest factor associated with it. I hate interest, depending on which side I'm on it. And I think that it's very powerful from a cash flow standpoint for the county to have that, whatever X is, sitting in the account. I will tell you this also. I don't know if Ms. Barano is going to be as mean as Ms. Butler, because there's just a chronological thing. Whenever you saw a human come out of their mama's tummy and they went to school with them, and Ms. Butler, she don't care who I am. I could be president of the United States. She gonna hammer me if she had an opinion about something. And I love that. But when we got into that hurricane disaster relief fund and we had no cash on hand, and we were writing for this grant, or making payroll at a certain time of the year chronologically, the level of consternation, the level of distress associated with that office, and I don't know if y'all, I don't know if everybody felt it, but I know she was Attila the Hun about reminding us, essentially, we're broke, we don't have any money, I can't fund these things, and y'all got to stop. And it was a broken record that happened all the time. And so I think we almost are doing that to ourselves if we.
So if we needed $500,000 from the line of credit to repair, to expand, do whatever, how easy is it to get that money?
So right now, we have the balance of what we haven't spent of the $6 million versus what we spent in an account, in a physical account right now. However, the contracts that you have let because of the jail, right? Once it's done, and it's not, they're just starting, but once that is paid in full, that line of credit will be exhausted.
I understand that, but let's say right now, let's say we owe $2 million on the line of credit, and we needed to go out and ask them for $1 million for a jail expansion.
Okay.
How quick do you get that $1 million?
It's already in the account.
Okay, so you already have your cash flow. My thing is, why are we paying $4.5 million worth of interest? We're not, you know what I'm saying?
Well, we're not, though. What is our point?
The 6 million, I think 6 million, well, the total right now is that we've drawn the whole 6 million on the line of credit. And so we're paying interest on the whole 6 million.
But we're paying more in interest on the 6
we're
million than we're receiving on the $4.5 million. Pay that down, but don't borrow against it. If you owed 18% on a credit card.
Absolutely, I'm paying it down.
That's right.
But I'm not paying 18%.
I'm just using it as an example. I can guarantee you,
but 18%.
we're paying more in interest on the $6 million loan than we're receiving in interest on a $4.5 million savings account.
Absolutely you are.
So let's save the people money.
Yeah, we knew that, but where you going?
If that was the case, then we shouldn't open the line of credit.
Yeah,
Well, you need the line of credit, but what I'm saying is if you've got
Technically, you
$4.5 million in the bank,
Technically,
pay
you
it
don't.
down. And don't borrow against it.
was that there for disaster relief?
I get
We
that.
spent it before.
I get that, but the line of credit will have a $4.5 million balance, and if a Hurricane Wilma comes back to haunt us, then we're going to go back to the bank and says, I need that $4.5 million back to then put in my line of credit. Might be worth a discussion for another day.
I think it's
But I'm
definitely worth
saving-
another discussion. I would just say to you, cash is king. And our ability to have cash on hand to be able to underwrite. I mean, if this is the story, you want to hit me with a different angle, say then let's, how's this not different than let's look at the value of one meal. Let's just say a meal was $1 million. Okay, and we're at 7 mills, then let's just take $1 million out of hurricane disaster relief and reduce the millage, and we'll go to 6 mills if we're at 7 mills. You follow what I'm saying? Why is that not a fair argument?
Because don't you want to have X amount towards catastrophes?
Absolutely, and that's what we got. 4.5 plus
You're
LOC.
right, but you're just moving it to a different account, but it's still there. You're not going to access it. I think you guys are thinking we're going to pay $4.5 million towards the line of credit and then go borrow more against the line of credit. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying I don't want to pay interest.
What I'm telling you is that on your $6 million line of credit, it's $6 million total, right? On your $6 million line of credit today, with what we have, not on the drawing board, actual contracts inked, we're upside down.
So we've spent out, right?
We've spent that, and we know that
Now,
we're
the chronological time frame hasn't
Right.
actuated it yet.
Right.
We haven't realized that yet. But
we're obligated to.
we have liabilities that are obligated against the LOC.
How long is how many years is it gonna take to pay it back?
You remember?
We'll be well over 730 days.
7 years. So
But it'll fluctuate.
couple things to think about.
We're not gonna pay it all in one jump sum.
No.
No, it's a flat amount.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so cash flow this time of year, taxes start rolling in November. This time of year, is it fair to say, is our cash crunch time?
Yes.
So we have a budget, and it's not necessarily 1/12 every single month. With payroll it is, but other things, it isn't. So we have cash flow that we balance. And then with the pay conversation, we're working on that. We'll bring something back to you with a recommendation. And I would just say, though, just keeping in mind that it's recurring. So whatever we do, we set the budget already for the year. Whatever we do, it's recurring, and it just keeps multiplying every year. And so that's something that we'll be looking into. I do think that
Can you, wait, can you say that? Can you say that one aspect again? Whatever we do from a standpoint on the 1/12, what you're saying is the breakdown, which obviously isn't a locked number,
right.
that happens chronologically every year.
Year.
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
gotcha.
it just is, so it's,
Yes, ma'am.
Repeat.
right. And so if you were to say, I don't know what you'll say, but if you were to say, okay, let's take $500,000 out of the $4.5 million, I'm just using that as an example. You're taking a non-recurring
Yes.
revenue source and putting it to a recurring expense. So what happens is
On the LOC.
for payroll.
Yes.
So what happens is the following year,
That same.
it dominoes.
Yeah.
And so then in order to fund it on a recurring basis, the millage rate either has to be increased
This is what Coach Clark wants to do all the time.
and it depends on the tax value, if it's a tax increase or if it's not a tax increase, all those things remain to be seen. But we do have, we might have, it's not the end of the month yet. At the end of this month, we get excess fees back from the constitutional officer. So I think that would be something good to look at and see what that might look like based off of some of the tax revenue that we just received from Banyan Village, just for example. Something like that to look at, maybe to fund in the current year what we might propose for some pay increases. And then that might be something that would be proposed.
So when you say, what was the access fees? That's what Pat Langford gives the county back?
Excess fees, and
Okay.
we don't know what they are yet, but I would say that you could assume that they're gonna be higher than they have been in the
So-
past for that reason alone.
Based on our conversation before, to be honest with you, I don't even want to see that money. The fact that my constituents have to wait till January and February to get a driver's license while the tax collector pats himself on the back, and I like Pat, but to say, hey, here's $250,000 we didn't spend, we're not providing the level of service to our constituents. We got to make sure that they're taken care of. Granted, I want to be conservative with our money, but on the same token, we got to take care of the people that are paying those taxes. So we need to work with him and see what we can do to
And he has
get.
the discretion to do what he can do in his budget, but then by Florida statute, at the end of this month, what he hasn't spent by 9/30, it comes back to the board.
What you need to do is send people down there, fill out an application.
No, I'm telling you, I mean, and the fact that I get people that call me all the time and it's, January and February, think about it. To get a driver's license,
Why don't they call Pat?
they do. But he's only got a certain amount of manpower, but then again, pay people what they're worth, get them to come to work, but we cannot give the county back $250,000 and it's taken 3 or 4 months to get a driver's license. We can't do that.
We talk about level of service, perfect point. Level of service. Can't keep the right-of-ways clean, can't keep the buildings maintained, we can't keep the air conditioners maintained.
Yep.
We pay the people what they're worth. We have HVAC technicians making $17 an hour. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They can go out and make $35 an hour at a private contractor.
Yeah.
Quick, fast, and in a hurry. So what the conversation we're having, you're talking about level of service, we are providing the best level of service we can with what we have.
Right.
We can't get employees because we're not going to pay them. I started here in the late 80s. You ready for this? $5.99 an hour
That's good.
in the
money.
late 80s. Back then, that was decent money. Today, we got guys that's making the equivalence of that coming in here to work. This is not the time that, the money they're giving back, we need to take that and put it in the employees. Make sure we're taking care of our employees. They are the ones that take care of us.
I'll take that
When you
if
get
we're
a
doing that.
complaint, the first thing they usually get is, you're not doing this. Shane, your guys aren't doing this, you aren't doing that. Alan, your guy didn't do this. The building is dirty. Well, guess what? It's time that we pay them and compliment them rather than complaining all the time. So this is a conversation I've been on for 5 years since I sit on this seat, and Commissioner Turner's exactly right. I'm very passionate about this. I went through the system. I've been through the system 30 years ago when we all started together. And I have come to this board many times, myself, we need this, and we need that. You can't have that. You don't need that. Light trees, you don't need that. You don't work that much at night. But what about the one time that I have to work at night?
Amen.
You know, our grader's 100 years old. You're pulling levers with your feet and your hands. Our grade-all, when I first started here, your grade-all was feet levers and hand levers. You had to drive that thing with your feet and hands. But the problem is now is getting someone to sit in the seat that don't drive it, they operate it. And we can't do that without paying them. So I'm sorry, I'm passionate about this as well. But you got guys been here 30 years, that guy shouldn't barely be making a living. He just shouldn't be. Our lady, I'm sorry, I don't think I'm getting gender sideways here, because I don't care. If they've been here 30 years, they shouldn't be squeaking out a living. We got guys with 3 or 4 kids, guess what? Don't hold that against them, but they can't go to McDonald's twice a week.
Well, it sounds to me then that the board is receptive to a plan being brought back to us.
Absolutely.
Ms. Davis, you know, if I think this is a front burning item, but I really want to challenge you, Ms. Davis, to tell us where the pitfalls are going to be. You know, be devil's advocate as it relates to this. But I think that we need to push through on this. And you know, I stopped short of saying I wanted to put a moratorium on anything. You know, Ms. Davis and I walked over to the existing courthouse. You know, I get hammered on, not as much as I used to, but there's a lady out there named Janet Taylor that you were mad when we lost our courthouse on this side of the county. You were very upset about it. And you know, we haven't built that back. I think that's a level of service that we're not giving to this side of the constituency. But all of that is a moot point as it relates to this right now, because I just think that, you know, times are better now. And I think it's time to look at this, and I'm glad that we're all receptive to it and singing from the same sheet of music.
Say, Shane, do you have anybody making $15 an hour on the mowers?
Not on the mowers.
What is that?
More like 11, isn't it?
Not on the mowers.
Maybe
I think it's
10?
12.
12.50. And then Jennifer, what does EMS, what's the lowest pay EMS can get?
It's around 13.50
That right there,
So
I
EMT.
don't understand
they're
that.
saving lives for $13.
Yeah, hey, you can pay somebody $14 an hour and you have a heart attack and they're supposed to
They're
save
gonna
you.
fix you.
Huh?
They're gonna fix you.
Well, they might, because they're looking for another job.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't understand it either.
Those, and so because we have the union and we do have years of service built into the union contract for EMS. So those are things that we're looking at, and it'll be brought back to you accordingly.
On the same token, you can't penalize your gentleman that's just signed on here for $12 an hour.
No.
Who's gonna cut that grass? You? No.
And that's why we do have a problem. We know that Alan had so many interviews, but when it was time to say how much they would make an hour, you know, they went someplace else, so they don't stay. They'll stay long enough to get the experience, and then they don't come back. So
I'm a huge proponent, and we've done it at our company, and I've helped facilitate discussions with other people. Less people working more, making more per hour. And you know, y'all have the head count, y'all got the logistics. I don't think you ever want me to sit in on any of your personnel meetings. You know, capital improvement plans, things like that. I'm a stickler about it. It's my favorite. It's probably my top 3 favorite debate to have with the president of Quality Electric. He wants to buy brand new every other day, and you know, and we need to re-roof our office, and we need to redo this building, and we need to go build this building, and we need to just, you know, and to heck with permits and any of that stuff. We don't need engineering. We don't need architectural drawings. We don't need nothing. Just go do it and stroke a check for it. By the way, if we ain't got the money in the account, go put it on the line of credit. And, you know, and my heart palpitates. And, you know, I have to say to the president, Daddy, you need to quit acting like we're made of money, and we need to pay some things off and get our house in order a little bit more before we move forward with X. And, you know, and I get dog cussed about it, but it doesn't matter. You know, the county doesn't have the luxury of making money except really 1 or 2 ways. and we're never going to be an enterprise fund and the other one other than our ad valorem revenue. So I think we're doing a solid job of operating within those parameters. But I'm ready for us now that we're not sitting here taking 50% or 100% of the capital improvement fund and balancing the budget, along with taking $1.5 million out of hurricane disaster relief. And Mark's telling us we have to adjust this ordinance and, talk about it in this way and say the reason why we're taking these extraordinary steps is because, and, we're not there now. So it's a different world. So let's look at it. I'm very appreciative to Commissioner Wills for bringing both sides of that equation into the discussion. And I look forward to what you bring to us, Ms. Davis. So, and, as you want to engage the constitutionals, you talk about somebody or what Ms. Michelle is saying, they're working in their office and all that stuff. I think we need to have that conversation. I think it needs to be a full frontal assault. So
We talked about a spreadsheet. Did you ever pull it, Jennifer, to showing how much the amount of people that was making?
We have it internally. I don't think we have sent it to the commissioners because it has it just has everybody's information. And HR also got it. We don't have people's names, but we did get the information for all the constitutionals as well.
You got all that?
So, yeah, so we knew, we were asking how many of your folks make X number of dollars, and then we put it in a spreadsheet to say, okay, 2 people fell within the criteria, or 3 people, or 0 people.
Number was very low. I
And it's
remember.
very low.
was.
Last year, it was very low this year. Be a few more next year, but then I think in years 4 and 5 is where it's really going to explode, if you will. So our theory was to try to take care of it now, so we don't wait till we get to that point in year 4 and 5.
Davis, I'm sorry for being so ignorant, but the gist is that that's just because we have a ton of people that are in that $13, $14 an hour range. So that's why the delta was going to be so great in those final years. Yes, ma'am. So
And
I
I
think, go ahead.
Sorry. And I am
Hard math.
concerned, we did talk about it, those that are making the $15, what are we gonna do once everybody hit the peak?
So that's what, so what I asked them to do, and I like visual aids, so they were gonna color code it, like the ones maybe in red that were affected, and then the ones around them, right? We're gonna be looking at those really well too, and they're also including longevity on the spreadsheet so we can see, and they're doing it by department. So we're gonna look at it by department, by person, with longevity,
Yeah.
hourly rate, and then we'll go through that process with that supervisor as well, to say this, he or she, they're just knocking it out of the park, or this one maybe isn't, and so it's not, it won't necessarily be everybody's treated the same
Right.
way.
Ms. Davis, Shane, how many people do you have right now that have a CDL, just off the hip?
There's 32, I have 32 people, and from 32 will take.
You have 25 CDLs?
5 or 24, because my lower level mower guys are not required to have CDLs.
Wow.
But if they get their CDL, they bump up higher.
How many of your guys have Red Cross certification? They can give you CPR right now.
They all do.
All do?
They go to annual training.
Okay. What about like OSHA 30 or OSHA 10 or anything like that?
I don't know what that is.
Okay. All right. What about maintenance of traffic certification?
They have that.
How many?
Not all of them, they go in and out.
Uh-huh. But you have somebody or a multitude of people at all times that had their certificate.
Basic, and they have intermediate, some have advanced.
Uh-huh.
They have chemical response training, they all go to that, every one of them does.
What the private sector does, let me say it a little bit differently, is for every little thing that you get, that's a bump. That's a bump.
For every
Yeah.
thing they can get.
Yeah.
They have a spray license, they make more money.
Uh-huh.
They have the knowledge, but they're not spraying, they still get more money.
Uh-huh.
Because they can fill in right away.
Gotcha.
And the more different activities they learn, the more universal you can plug and play, they make more
And
money.
Ms. Davis, is that in policy in writing? Is that something that we have, or is that just something you have to? I'd like to formalize that a little bit more and make it to where, I don't know if your guys ever operate a JLG lift or, a Genie lift or anything like that, but there's a lift course, and and there's a forklift course, and there's a multitude of different things that make your employees more sexy to the private sector. So you're going to lose people potentially, right? But they're going to leave the private sector. They're going to go into the private sector and work at the C-43 Reservoir because they're going to make $22 or $25 an hour instead of 15 or 17 at Henry County. But I think that's a great problem to have instead of, we're hiring people at $11 or $12 an hour and they're there for 2-3 years and we're not pushing them out the door. I have an office. There's a spot in my office at Quality Electric that you come in and you make minimum wage, whatever it is. We take great pride in that fact that we pay you minimum wage. But you're challenged to go to school. We will pay for any class you bring to us. 5 or 6 people that have sat in that chair have their master's degree now, and they are extremely productive citizens. There's been 2 or 3 that haven't. They've left because we're so rude about what are you doing to get better, because you're not going to be sitting there making $9 an hour anymore. And so, it's just, I think it's a challenge, and that needs to come from the top, from you all as well. And I think anytime we can formalize that, we need to push it out the door.
Well, in your COLA, just to give everybody a brief there, back when I started, you had evaluations quarterly. You was evaluated. Everyone was evaluated quarterly. You went anywhere from 3% to 7%, depending on your productivity and how you produced. Like you said, I hate that everybody gets a trophy as well.
Yeah.
I do not like that. Just because you're there doesn't mean you're actually producing.
That's right.
So back then, you went to whoever your department head was, you interviewed the director of the department and the assistant director. They guessed, okay, you got 3%. Why'd they get 7%? He produced.
It's easy.
You want 7%? Work.
Yeah.
But that's the way it used to be, and that's how you kind of got the stagger and pay going. And I'm glad we're having this conversation, and I'm really, really pleased over the last 5 years we've seen this, and we have been steady getting people where they need to go. My whole point was, let's don't forget the ones
At the top.
at the top that's been here,
Yep.
making sure that all happens. And that was my biggest thing. Your Shanes, your Allens, your Roger Greers, your Kenny Edens, who's been sitting here for 32, 33 years. Some of these
Allen's
guys.
not allowed to
That was my
retire.
point. That was my point.
Can we put it in policy? Allen's not allowed to retire too, right?
Well, I worked under him, and I'm not trying to promote him. I'm just, it's just the bottom line is, when it don't get done, it gets thrown to his department.
Yeah.
It was that way for 20 years I worked with him. Every time you turned around, we picked up something else.
And he can't,
Shane's just got the same problem. Everything we don't get done, we throw it on Shane.
he likes that.
I don't think he loves it as much as you think, I'm just saying. But I do appreciate the fact that we're all working on this, Commissioner Turner, and I do appreciate the fact that you're actually this passionate about it, because we gotta take care of the ones that take care of us. I mean, 3 years from now, I may not be sitting here, but, at the end of that, I can honestly say that we did the best we could for the people of Hendry County to provide the quality of service they expect. I mean, they get upset if the grass isn't cut right. They get upset if the building doesn't look right. So, that's something that, at the end of the day, I can go home and go to sleep, like you said, knowing that we're trying to do the right things for everyone, not just a certain group. So that's all I got there on that, so.
But I agree with you, that you got this one employee that can't do nothing. You're gonna give him 15. You got this one that works her butt off, and you're gonna give him 15.
No, I say cut the dead wood, chop their head off in a guillotine, and make the other one step it up. It works. Trust me.
It do work.
Hey, you gotta produce. I mean, honestly, that's
I
what
don't
it
think
should
there's
be.
tenure in it.
You got these employees, I mean, I can tell you, I could name a couple right now that Shane has that we really, really, really need to take care of.
Yeah.
These gentlemen, they're off the charts. I mean, and honestly, it's not that I'm trying to do day-to-day stuff. I'm not. But I've been out there. I've been there. I've seen them. I went out today. I mean, I work pretty much shoulder to shoulder with these guys, like Commissioner Turner said. So I'm not saying that I go out every day and see what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I do go, if they're working in my district, I do go and see what they're doing.
I do too. It gives me a different perspective.
And they're
better
good
believe it,
workers. They're good workers. One of them told me, he said, well, I work harder because they just hired this guy and he's outworking me. So, and you need that sometimes, You need that.
Anybody got any more questions on that? We're not gonna go to business by district yet. We did have, you wanted to speak in the, don't feel bad, my nieces do that all the time.
Janet Taylor here. And you all have said all the key words that I really want to say. Like Carson said, kept me up. These 2 items I'm talking about have kept me up. And you're talking about challenge. I need to challenge this commission on something tonight. Back in August, I emailed all of you about some soccer goals in Harlem at the ball field. And Jennifer said she would get back with me, but I haven't heard anything. But what I want you all to know tonight is the Harlem Tennis Association and the Harlem Civic Improvement Association want to partner with you. We're willing to do anything we could do to help with whatever you got going on. And we're willing to make a sacrifice to provide for those goals. Because the little goals that you got out there is the little goals like we were really
See,
putting out.
Janet, I think that's already been taken care of.
I wrote that you didn't take care of it in Harlem.
Well,
You hadn't been there because
right.
I just passed by it.
I'll answer that for you, Mr. Chair. That have already been taken care of. That's a project that we've been working on for a period of time. The soccer goal out there was something that we already had. We was waiting on our bleachers, and in due time, they will be put out. You know, I understand everybody noticed the soccer goal, but they didn't notice the part that wasn't there. But those things are being taken care of, and you know, you don't put the horse before the cart. You wait until you pull everything. And Tommy been working very diligently to get these things done, along with the school board, and they will be put out. You know, so, but then that's part of why Jennifer have not contacted you. We're just waiting on everybody that was working in the whole bar part, so.
Well, just as a courtesy, if I had known that, I would not be here saying
There
anything about it.
there was a reply. I thought that Commissioner Byrd replied to that initial email saying that it was in the works.
First time I did.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, but not the
Jennifer,
second
you
one.
sent me an email saying that you would get the information and get back with me. And I don't remember.
And she replied to everyone right after that on that, and that was the
So I didn't
reply.
get it. That's fine,
Okay.
as long as I didn't get it. But in answer to your thing about the park,
Mm-hmm.
they are concerned that the park was taken down before
Mm-hmm.
something was being able to move in there. So there is a question about that as well. So, we just want to help. We're not here to do anything but to offer partnership to help you all do whatever we could do. We able to, the tennis association and the civil rights, buy the uniform, regulations, goals, to help you all put them up. So that's fine, had I known that. So that's taken care of. The second thing is, there's a building in our community, and I don't have anything on this, very historical building, very important to our community. For years, it housed the largest number of kids in daycare in that facility. Not only that, through that building passed many great educators, doctors, lawyers, and people who have been refused recognition, but we're still gonna be working on that part of it. So we're here today to see what the commission is doing about that building. And we're willing to help you with that as well. Not only that, we want to kind of challenge you, like he said, for a time frame. I know that you all might be working on it, and it might be something that you already have in the plans and all. But if we could just get a time frame as to maybe what is going on, and we could do, we are willing to help you and partner with you on that as well.
What building are you talking about?
Harlem Civic.
Daycare.
Okay, so, I think they've been working on that a long time.
That's why I'm here tonight, because it's been a
Yeah.
long time. And
They
I
have-
just want to have kind of like a time frame, and maybe you all got it already thing, but I just, want you to know that whatever it is, we're willing to help. And we just want to be partners and get that done. That's a very historical building. I don't know if any of you all went to that school or not, but I attended that school.
You did, Ms. Taylor?
Yeah, I graduated from there.
Yes, ma'am.
1963, over 50 more years ago, I graduated from that school. So it has very, like you're passionate about those employees, and I understand exactly where you're coming from. When I was on the commission, that's where I was for the bridge keepers in in LaBelle. They was underpaid, and I rallied to the cause for those people. So I appreciate that for your employees, and so that's the way I am about this building. And anything that you all could do to expedite it, or do whatever, or let us help you, or do whatever, we would certainly appreciate it.
Just a guess, there's a lot of work, roofs, there's a lot to be done. The last time I was out there, honestly, I was just shooting from the hip, and I was thinking 18 to 24 months before that was gonna be ready for anything.
We
And a
did
lot of
have,
it,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, Mr. Chair, we
You're fine.
did have a time frame, but after we, like you said, I did a walkthrough with, Ms. Taylor, with Jennifer and Emily, and it was a lot of damage. So what was scheduled was for the the other commissioners to go through. But what happened was they had to go in and improve some things before they went in. So it was a time frame, but it's a lot of damage that's
What
done
would-
there.
What would you improve before the other commissioners went in, because they need to see the bad condition.
Well, it need to be
so that
clean.
they could, so that they could help expedite the service.
Mr.
It,
Chair.
not necessarily,
Yes, sir.
it would have been, I think the way we done it was appropriate for, after we cleaned it up, for them to go in to see the damage. They was more able to see the damage once we went in and took out furniture and different things like that and made it a safe haven for them to go in. So that is being put in place for them to be able to walk through. And believe me, they'll be able to see the damage because it's very obvious of the damage that's there. So Ms. Taylor I'm keep saying Ms. Taylor, Jennifer is setting a date for that, and I don't know the date of that.
Well, we're
so-
waiting. We've got some contractors. Alan's coordinating with several contractors on going out there and getting us some estimates on some of the damage that we observed whenever we did do the walkthrough. And being very optimistic, we were hoping that we would have already, issued the RFP and we'd already have people in there, perfect world. But it's, Commissioner Wills, to his credit, he had told me early on, I don't think it's going to happen that way. And we were pushing forward, making it happen. And then we got out there, and there's some very foundational issues that have to be addressed before we move folks in there. We've got some leaky roofs, and we've got some other
Yeah, a lot of rotted soffit.
areas
and
that
there's a lot of
are
stuff, yeah.
extreme safety hazards. So Alan is working with contractors to get some quotes. He was having a hard time getting people out there with the state of affairs of everything that's going on. But he was going to get 2 or 3 quotes just so we could have an idea of what that looks like, so we can move forward with the very bare minimum repairs. And so the idea is to get the exterior safe and secure, get the facility, and we already have had contractors out there working on some other things that has been completed, getting everything sound, so the exterior's not going in, if you will, from the windows and the doors, and all that's been completed. It was cleaned out, that's been completed. We've had several crews out there multiple times cleaning the inside of everything. We've got people cleaning up the grounds. I don't remember if they got the trees done. Did they do the?
They had quite a bit of
They
trimming
did
to do as
things
well.
like that,
Yeah.
just because they could, and they had people that could do it. So the biggest issue is the safety issues with the roof, air conditioning, and the soffit that you're talking about. So that, as soon as we get that taken care of, then it'll be ready to go as far as the RFP.
Right.
And then the interior, the idea is the folks that bid or send a proposal on the RFP, yes, I want to be here, and this is the service that I want to supply at this facility, that the interior, we would look at each one. They're going to each propose something. We'll look at each one of those individually, and that the interior would be their responsibility, if you will. And depending on what it is, who it is, if it's a non-for-profit or whatever it is, we would either have a reduced rental rate or something like that, like we've done in other cases throughout the county, to compensate for that. So it
You have
wouldn't.
money set aside to do that?
That is set aside in the forthcoming ARPA funds
Okay.
for ADA. There's some ADA issues that have to be done with the bathrooms and things like that. That'll be shared by everyone, and that has been set aside as an estimate of what that might look like.
Yeah, and the thing to keep in mind too, a large portion of that wasn't being used. It was being used for storage only. Only a portion of it was being used for classroom, office space, and then they had the cafeteria space. Amos and I spent many days in there as well. So again, it's just, there really is a lot there. It's gonna take a while, so.
There's a lot to do, but the building is of such historical value to that community that whatever it takes to do, and I know we talked about the emergency fund, and we talking about that. If we have to put on fundraisers in the community to help you all, because I understand everybody's in a strain, we want to see that building fully utilized.
And we do
And
too.
make it's the centerpiece of our community. It sits in the middle of our community, and for a while, it was just unkept, but at least the grounds and stuff are kept now. But, you know, we used to having life in it. Let me say it like that. That's the reason, and that's the reason we're here. The Parent Association and the Civic Improvement Association, we're willing to do whatever we could do to help the county, because it's that important to us.
Well, let's keep centerpiece and take the historical part out.
Huh?
If we keep calling it historical, next thing you know, we're gonna have historical contractors in there, and then we are really gonna be behind it.
Not historically, you all hadn't been there.
There you go. But it's, you know, and honestly, I was there, and there was kids there every day.
Yeah.
Every day. I would go in there and there would be 30 or 40 kids. They'd take that little batch of humans in, as Commissioner Turner would say, and they bring another little batch out. So I've seen it day to day there,
Yeah, the
so.
last little time that they had before COVID came, it was like 92 children there.
A lot of kids.
And you know, and I really fussed and carried on with Mr. Hanson, whatever his name is, from Child Care
In South Florida,
Yeah, I really carried on with him, and Jennifer knows the situation I did, because I called Jennifer a couple, 3 times. I thought it was really a disservice that they did when they walked out and left us, and so I've been through it.
I'm glad you
And
finally
we paid off their
chastised
mortgage, just so
I
you
said,
know.
I'm glad you finally chastised them.
We paid off the mortgage and
Now,
not
you
just.
have to chastise him.
Yeah, but you didn't ever want to chastise them. You thought they were the greatest thing since sliced bread, because I wanted to shut them down out the gate, and then I was wrong. I realized I was wrong, you know. But, you know, my perspective of the Harlem Academy is, to your point, Ms. Taylor, it was serving the largest volume of voluntary pre-kindergarten students in this county.
Yeah.
And they sucked for a while. They were doing very poorly with their readiness rates. And then, by God, Felicia Brown got in there, and she did some things, and she snatched some knot of some people. And I mean, like within a 2-year time frame, it was the second or third best performer on a per capita basis. It was behind Rainbow, and I think this it was behind CCS. It went Clueston Christian School VPK, Rainbow, Discovery, and then Harlem Academy. And Harlem Academy and Discovery were right there. And so, you know, and yet they still kept their volume up. Their volume was what it was. So, you know, and that was when I kind of had an epiphany of them and RCMA, the Redland Christian Migrant. You know, that's where the lowest hanging fruit was, where we could have the biggest gains to our overall school system if we put resources and pumped them into there. And so then when I reached out to Child Care Centers in Southwest Florida, and they said, well, we're doing as much as we can. And I said, not very nicely, I disagree with you, because you have actual PhDs in your facilities on the coast, and you don't even have as much as an EDD or any master's level teachers in Harlem. So I disagree with you fundamentally. And that's where, you know, I was very angry. But I was never angry at you about it. I just said, let's look at the statistics and hold them accountable. I do know also a different aspect now is we own the building. It's ours.
Right.
You know, and when you and I were serving together, we didn't own it. It was a full-time lease as long as they were providing that service. And so that changes the dynamics as well. As you well know, we qualify for every dollar under the sun, you know, with meeting the things that allow for us to score out on grant applications through the roof. And so I think that this is a prime facility for that. You know, and I know that I'm going to catch heat from constituents because, you know, there you go. You're trying to do something in Harlem again. Well, so be it. Be angry that I'm doing something in Harlem. When you have the shell that is there, that means as much as it does to that community, you cannot allow for it to go by the wayside. Coupled with that, you take a vehicle and park it outside in Florida in 6 to 8 months and don't do anything with it. We already know what happens to it. And so this bad boy has been sitting idle for probably right at 18 months now.
How long ago?
Is power's on, water's on, and the AC units are running. I mean, we're
Yeah.
keeping the humidity out.
One
Okay.
does run,
Ones that
yes.
are working.
Yeah, okay.
And the ones that are working, and we have written for a grant.
I remember that. We
we-
did, Ms. Taylor, right,
yeah.
for a grant.
We did.
Yeah.
We didn't get it.
Nope.
But we did
Yeah.
write for it. And it is on our list as if anything else
Yeah.
comes available. And I know Tammy's always looking and Emily's always looking for opportunities if there's something that comes up for that. But like I said, to your point, we didn't always own it, and now
Yeah.
we do. We paid off the mortgage. We've went in and they cleaned it out before we got it. I mean, they got all the stuff out. We've went in, we've cleaned it out, we've tried to seal, we've sealed the doors, we've sealed the windows because, you know, they weren't sealed. We've inspected all of the rooms. Alan's been out there multiple times. Like I said, we do have some roof issues on, not all of it, but part of it. We do have some air conditioning issues, not on all of it, but part of it. We know we've got to do ADA. Shane, I forgot about this, is working with a architect or engineer on the drawings, because for the RFP, we've got to be able to tell people, you know, there's these 3 wings and there's X number of
Square feet
square
available.
And
feet
spec
per-
out what you want in each
And
portion.
so we looked high and low for the drawings in the county. We reached out to Mr. Hanson. We reached out, I think, to the city of Clewiston, and we asked them, you know, just by chance if they had it, nobody had it. So we're having those drawn up now as well, so they'll be ready as soon as we get the repairs ready for folks to be able to go out there and look at the property.
And
Did
people
you
are,
check with the school board, Jennifer?
I think we did
Or you
look
sure?
at the
Okay,
school as
because
well.
it was originally a school-
I'm sorry?
Check with you, you should.
No.
You might want to ask Mr. Lowell Hughes,
no, I was just,
because he was.
I was just saying different people was reaching out, different people that
Right.
want to bring in jobs and they already have their proposals ready. They just waiting on us.
Okay, and
They're
that's
just
why
waiting
I'm
on
here,
us.
so that they don't have to wait on y'all too long.
18 months.
Keep hammering.
I hope it gets done before that, but honestly, I've walked through there, I've looked at it. Unfortunately, I'm
We
18
actually
to
And we've
24
had
months.
COVID.
We actually thought January, but it's a
No, January next year maybe,
Okay.
not this
But you
year.
know, I know, Jeff, you say you all applied for one grant and did not get it. I am daily in somebody's office, somebody's office.
Can't get anybody
And I'm
to
just
do
going,
it.
you know, Congressman Hastings is gone, which is who I could depend on to do a lot of stuff.
Who's going to win that race, by the way?
I'll tell you after the meeting.
Okay.
And so now I want to, anybody that can help us get some grants or anything to come help us with that building. I want to be able to say, you all wouldn't mind it.
Oh, absolutely. Ms. Davis, I won't speak for you. I hate to do that, but Ms.
You know,
Taylor,
sometimes people think I'm interfering.
Ms. Taylor, I don't think anybody on this board, if there's a pot of money that we can go after,
That's all I want you to
that I think we're all going to be on board with it. You know, qualifying that the match isn't, you know, dollar for dollar on $1 million or dollar for dollar on $250,000. Then we're going to run the numbers then. But no, I think that this board is 100% receptive to
And
that.
it was also a federal appropriation request as well.
was.
It wasn't,
It
it
was.
wasn't funded,
It was an earmark.
Wasn't
It's
fun.
an earmark,
Yeah.
but
Right.
if you're following that process.
We knew we had a long shot on it,
but we've also
but we
requested that.
are going to request it.
And a lot of the issue right now is just not the pot of money, just so y'all know that. A lot of the problem right now is getting people there.
Yeah.
It's not just the money. We could have that pot of money, and it's just getting people there. It's,
to work.
Yeah,
well, that, and they're just so busy. The ones that
Taylor-
are working are so busy.
Instead, we're seeing a lot of contracts come in 30 and 40% on the private side. I'm talking about specifically.
You're right, yeah.
We're seeing contracts come in 30 and 40% over engineer's estimate. We've seen as much as 60% over, and the counties are still going with it because they know you're either going to do it and pay, or you're just not going to do
They
it.
just don't care.
Commissioner Turner, I would agree with you 100%. If you all go on the west end of Harlem when you coming in, you see that fence we put in for the garden?
You about break you?
Huh?
It was too expensive?
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, and we just put in the irrigation system.
Yeah.
The price that we paid for that fence, that irrigation system, in a normal day, we could have done a whole lot more for our community.
Yeah.
But we had to take what it is we could take. Tomorrow, they're starting to put in the lights in our tree park, the same park we have. And the cost that we are paying for that is probably 60% more than what we have paid if it was non-COVID times.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I know just what the county is going through. I understand that. But all I want you all to know is that those two organizations in that Harlem community is willing to partner with you all to make anything happen in that community. Not only that community, any community. And I still want you to encourage your constituents to come plant in that garden. We're gonna start down there next week. So, but I just want you to know, we're here for you, and we just want the best for that community.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
appreciate you all.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public like to speak at this time?
Mayor Mosley.
6:30, it's all right, they'll be there for a while.
I'm not gonna be up here, but
That way we don't have to be there the whole time.
I want to say
Oh, what is
something.
that?
Mr.
Oh, that's on
Bowley,
the
would you state your
26th.
name for the record,
I'm
please,
talking
sir?
about
Yeah, Fred Bosley.
Thank you.
the congressional
If
deal.
we're not,
That's
if
Staghorn.
we got a project that we're not making any money on that, and we have been, I want to throw in the recycle deal. We did have, and I brought that up, I don't know if it's been looked into or not, but, we did have different communities have contests to see who could have the most or whatever. And it's costing us money if we're not making money on it.
Thank you, Mr. Great
I
point.
talked to Tommy about it.
In the town.
Yeah, he can talk, he can talk to you after the meeting. I talked to him.
That was something we talked about in the last meeting, so it's,
Yeah.
that was a tough one too. Anyone else like to speak at this time?
Ken Bowers, District 5. I've noticed that I don't know why I enjoy it, but I watched a lot of the county commission meetings, the school board commission meetings, and they're behind like since May. Is that something that y'all stopped doing, or are they gonna be reposted, or?
No, they're still going on Facebook. As far as we know, it should be live right now, yes, sir?
Site.
But they're like,
On the website, I'm sorry, on the website, I noticed, and I noted that like a week or two ago.
I sent an email to somebody. I
The
don't know,
last-
The webmaster, whoever that was.
So,
The last one was May. They are on Facebook, correct? They should be on Facebook. They're archived, but on the website, I noticed the same thing, sir, and I apologize, and they're working on getting them caught
Okay,
up.
so that is something you are gonna update?
Yes,
That's
sir.
all I was wanting to know.
Yeah.
Good catch.
yeah, they're
Mr. Bowers.
migrating on a new website, so it's, a matter of fact, they've got a lot of that done. That might be part of it.
Sometimes there's something interesting on there I wanna hear.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else would just like to address the board at this time? Business by district, Mr. Iglesias.
I'm going to recognize Margaret and your department. So I know Commissioner Turner had some hard feelings with code enforcement from back in the day, but I can tell you, since I've been elected, and actually before I was elected, I've worked with your team. And that E-Track It system, if you guys haven't used that, that's spot on. I mean, you can find a case, you can find a permit, you can find if a contractor's licensed in Hendry County. But more so, the job they've got to do is a very difficult task. I mean, they're not there to bust anybody's chops. They're there to get somebody in compliance. And when you go to tell somebody, in other words, their house looks like crap, and they have to clean up, they don't take that very lightly. And I will say that, you know, working with David and Brian and Jim, they do a great job. You do a great job, and I want to thank you for that. That's all.
Ms. Byrd?
Not much, just want to thank Tommy and Shane and them for the soccer goals coming in. Sorry for the miscommunication, but it is coming and we're working on things in the community. You try not to put the cart before the horse, you know, you wait till you get everything together, but those things are coming. So thank you so much, appreciate your hard work.
Mr. Harrison?
I'm good.
Commissioner Turner?
I talked with Shane on a number of issues before the meeting, so Shane, I look forward to getting those reports back from you. Thank you so much. And staff, I know has to be so elated that the rains have slowed down a little bit, so let's hope that trend continues to go. So, but I said a lot earlier, so thank you so much, Mr. Chair, I appreciate it. I look forward to all of us working together to skin the cat.
Yes, sir, and good. Same thing, staff, went out today and drove down Phillips Road. Wow. Pretty incredible. That was the road we pushed through in the last meeting, and we'll thank all of you for
So they turned and
doing that.
burned on that, is what Shane
And
said.
if you get out get out that way, just take a quick drive down it. Now you can take a quick drive down it. Before you was like you was in an old buggy trail. But it's much better. Went down Murray Road today as well. It's in good shape. Probably better than I've seen it in a long, long time. The water situations on over there, you guys, this year, I think is the first year that I can actually say I haven't seen 14 acres underwater where we had to go out and stake the roads. So all the work that's been done out there has really, really paid off, and so I appreciate that as well. Talk about staff. You can sit here and thank staff all night long. Our code enforcement, they got the hardest job in the county. It's like herding cats, so they got a tough job, but you know what? They're very professional. I get a lot of good compliments on them, to be honest with you. People say, hey, they come out, I didn't like what they were saying, but they were very professional. They handled it. So, and that's stuff that we need to commend them on, because they don't have an easy job. Again, thank you all for looking at the situation that we're looking at with the salaries and stuff with the employees. Without them, we're not needed up here. I mean, we're here to serve the constituents and to serve the employees, no different. We're not lording over anyone. We are servants.
Yes, sir.
So I appreciate all of your heart. Thank you for your time. And no one has anything else, meeting adjourned. Thank you.